It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Also today, we heard from Benjamin Netanyahu, who was with Dr. Phil, interesting, talking about threats to the homeland of the United States, and also saying that the issue of radical Islam, which is what it looks like we're seeing today, clearly that happened in Michigan and also at Old Dominion University, that this is a problem throughout the globe and that America better wake up. Take a listen. Here is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Do you think that October 7th gave people a sense of moral authority to express their anti-Semitism?
Well, because the internet has been flooded by fake propaganda describing Israel as the aggressor instead of the country that's been aggressed upon, saying that falsely accusing us of genocide when we have sacrificed our soldiers in taking out terrorist places that we could have just carpet bombed and we didn't. We do everything in our power to keep civilians out of harm's way, and Hamas did everything in their power to keep them in harm's way. They shoot people. When we tell Palestinian civilians, please get out of this neighborhood because we're coming in, Hamas shoots them if they want to come out. But they're not only targeting us, and they not only chant death to America, death to Israel, death to America, they want to get rid of us in order to get rid of you. But they're also going after minorities, and specifically against Christians. Christians throughout the Middle East are being oppressed. They're being driven out. It's something that the only safe place for Christians, where the Christian community is growing and thriving, is in Israel. They've been kicked out of Turkey. They've been oppressed in Syria, in Lebanon, in the areas that we handed over to the Palestinians. Some 30 years ago, we were controlling Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus. At that time, the overwhelming majority of the Arabs living in Bethlehem were Christian Arabs, over 80%. Now, after 30 years, they're down to 20% because they're oppressed, and so they leave. But that's not what's happening in Israel itself. In Israel itself, they're growing, they're thriving. They serve in the army. Christian Arabs serve in the army, yes. Very brave soldiers, because they know that Israel is fighting not only our battle, but their battle.
It is all of our battles. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Norm in Brooklyn, line 5. Go ahead, Norm.
Hi, Rita. Okay, so this is the way I see it. We have two wars, essentially. We have the war in Iran, which seems to be going very well, although we definitely need to get rid of any whack-a-mole, whatever Ayatollah that comes out. And but the domestic war, the one that we have here, this is a much more difficult war to win the hearts and the minds of people. This is very difficult. So the thing is, I think what Trump needs to do, and what needs to speak to the media. There needs to be a coming together. Okay, like the heads. I'm not talking about the heads of CNN, the heads of the legacy media need to have a serious sit down with the president, and there has to be at least an attempt to try to show. I mean, the Persian people here, the Persians are pretty happy what's going on in Iran. I mean, I would say the majority of Persians are actually. At least this is the buzz I'm getting from some of my ex-Persian clients. I mean, they seem to be pleased at what's going on over there.
Wait, Norm, I got to correct you. Not the majority. It's like overwhelming. I mean,
Right.
I think it's well beyond majority. It's like, like a preponderance. It's like either we're regime lovers or we're freedom lovers. And I'd say 95% are cheering. That's a pretty good number.
Right. But as long as things are pushed in the media, as long as things are pushed that we're there to oppress and take over Iran, you're going to have these lone wolves, these terror groups. There's going to be much more of this, So I just, there has to be some attempt to tamp that down.
I know the problem is, Norm, it ain't going to happen.
Tamp down, I think, is with truth.
And I agree with you. By the way, I 100% agree with you. The reason I say it ain't going to happen is it's horrible. And I agree with you. I'll even use the phrase that it's un-American. When I hear some of these phrases coming out, like Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, not just anybody, he is the House Minority Leader. So the leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives, I think it was within hours of the strikes, and they had already taken out the Ayatollah and 40 others, which was a magnificent feat. I mean, it's going to go down, I think, as one of the greatest feats in military history. And yet he came out and said, this will be another failed Mideast war. And you're right. The media is almost like, trying to find negatives, and it's destructive. It's undermining American security. It's undermining, success there, I believe. And luckily, President Trump is able to tune it out because sadly, he's used to it. But I agree with you. The problem is I don't see any of these people changing their stripes. That's the problem. Like, you could sit and say, okay, we're going to have a meeting with, all the heads of these major organizations. And the problem is a lot of them are sort of living, I describe it as la-la land, Norm. It's like, they think, they're reporting the truth, and it's like Orange Man bad. They're just as in the tank against Trump as so many of these others. And some of them maybe know better, but I think a lot of them genuinely feel that way. And that's a scary thing, Norm, but it creates a huge problem. So how do we turn it around if they won't do it? Because I think they would say, oh, leave us alone. We're First Amendment. But that doesn't mean you have a right to your alternate set of facts. Facts are facts. And anybody who's sitting there saying, I haven't heard anybody say the Ayatollah's not that bad, but I've heard a lot of people say, well, maybe we shouldn't have gone in now. And why would we want to stop them now? Why do it? Well, because the predecessors had no cojones, pure and simple. They should have done it then. And instead they, flourished and helped their war machine. And now we are where we are. So, but I agree, Norm. I think the best thing is what you just said at the end. There is truth. As soon as we can get the truth out and highlight that this is the truth and show how lunatic some of them are, maybe shaming them is the way to that they'll have a wake-up call. At least, some of them have had to do apologies of late for misreporting. But I think it's a long road. What do you think, Norm? I don't think it's an easy fix. Unfortunately,
No,
I wish I were more optimistic, but I'm realistic.
Right. I think the war, we're going to have ground troops. I mean, there is no way that we can accomplish this mission to do what we're planning on doing through just bombing. There's no way.
I think you could use some special ops guys. I think there's sort of a difference for when you use the term, ground troops. People think of, battalions coming in.
Right.
I can see using some
special.
Start. Right. But I could see special ops guys coming in, to secure some of these nuclear stockpiles, because apparently they're buried deep in the ground under a site called Natanz. And then I also could see them coming in to maybe take out more regime leadership and also IRGC folks. So we'll see where we go, Norm. Pray for America. Right. I know you always do, my friend, because you're a great American.